In this video, I'm going to show you the entire process of building what is perhaps my favorite Planet Coaster project ever. This is, of course, Planet Coaster 2, and if you're new here, I like to build parks. Currently, I have a park called Funland, and in Funland here is the newest ride to this amazing park. This ride is, like I said, probably my favorite. I'm going to show you right from the very first moments of conceptualizing this, right down to the very last bit where we do a full ride POV. It's going to be great, and I think you're really going to love this. This is the whole thing. Like, these are some snippets of it. It is just absolutely delightful, this entire coaster. It's a ground-hugging coaster. It's launched. It's really nice to kind of put together. You can see here it has kind of a ground-hugging profile, and I really enjoy that a lot. It gave me a lot of chances to play with the terrain and play with the rocks and stuff. And like I said, you're about to see me go right from conceptualization, right on flat land, all the way out to this. And I'm not going to skip very much at all. And of course, I'll just give you my delightful, voiceover for the entire thing so that, I can share my thought process and maybe some anecdotes with you. Now, ever since I was a kid, I absolutely loved coasters like this. Ground-hugging coasters, a lot of times launched. There isn't too many examples of them from the 90s, but of course they got more popular in recent years. And though sometimes they do incorporate some higher elements, they generally keep everything as low to the ground as possible. It's a G-force intense ride. Of course, I think the way it's configured here in Planet Coaster, it looks cool. It would probably not be survivable generally, or I don't know. I didn't look at the test data, is what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way. But yes, it's just beautiful. I really love too how this coaster follows the profile of not only the ground, but also of itself many times. For instance, here where we're going kind of up and over this area of the coaster, the launcher, and it brings that track above you, gives you the anticipation of where you're about to end up, and then send you on your way. And while you're on your way, you see some cool close calls. When you reach the entire end of this, when you get all the way to the very last moments of building this coaster, it's very hard to believe that this is what the area looked like before it got messed with, before building was put there and terrain was manipulated. And one thing I do enjoy doing, though, real quick I want to say, is riding these as I'm building them. And usually I cut it out of the footage, but this time I've left it in so you can see it. I love the explosions too. But yeah, so that's something I enjoy doing because I try to make the coaster as thrilling as I can. One thing you don't know, because I cut it out of the editing footage, is that this is not the first coaster on this piece of land. In fact, it is the third. And I kept recording them and changing them and altering them and trying to build them. And I was not satisfied. I wasn't getting what I wanted. That it was not scratching the itch for me. So I actually went with this for the first time. Didn't like it. Went with this again. And now I don't mind it. It really is a cool coaster. This is the launched coaster. I forget exactly what kind of, I'm not a coaster nerd, so I don't really know all the little ins and outs. But yeah, here I got this wild hair too. I was going to try to invert the track up and over this other piece of track. And I'm going to spoil it right now for you. It didn't work. But I think in the end, a little bit of a pop-up of Bunny Hill, it's nice. It would give you a little bit of a belly tickle as you came up over it, of course. But yeah, looks great, right? And boom. The coaster never even got to try one single iteration of it. It's truly tragic. But if this wasn't sped up to times 600, I think it is, or some of the clips are 300, 500, and then 600. And if it wasn't sped up, you would see just disgustingly how long I spent trying to smooth that inversion over the track, and I couldn't do it. Here is what is, I'm assuming is one of the final ride-throughs of what the layout is going to be. It does feel very fast, of course, because you're in that enhanced, you know, multiplier, but I don't want to really spoil the POV for you yet. So all that ride through was me trying to look at skylines, trying to look at view lines on the coaster, and then also looking at where I can enhance a bit of the feel, the danger level, the excitement, the feel of the ride itself. And I was just taking mental notes, and then I come off the ride and I make those adjustments here and there. Now I take terrain paint, I go around everything with the gravel, and then I start layering it on. I've talked about this in multiple videos, that when you play with terrain paint and terrain manipulation, you really try your best to paint it like you're using actual paint. You want to kind of brush in a few bits of darker, lighter, bits and bits and bits, until you kind of get it right. And then things like foliage for a forest, I have a brush. I think it goes right through everything. So I really don't want to pick trees off like I did on the train ride video, which there was more edited out of that than actually occurred. But it's funny because I really don't want to have to go along this whole track and just pick up trees off. So I just kind of did the other way, the pre-brush days. I knew pretty soon into this that I wanted a lake there, that I wanted a little bit of terrain all around the ride as well, because you kind of want, when you're on the ride, you want to feel like you're in that its own area. That's the immersion, and you'll see here how I achieve that on all sides as creatively as I can. And I think as we're moving forward, I may stop in and pick and poke at this area a bit more. There's some things I didn't quite get all the way to here in this run. But here again, making a lake, it's layers of paint. I put down gravel. Then on the very bottom of the lake, I put down grass. Grass. I put down rock. And then I just go through and do some mossy or flowery dirt and some rough water in the water pit, which this water pit is going to get a whole makeover at some point. It's going to be all done up differently. I must have sat for some time and just stared at the coaster running, which is really weird, but I do that sometimes. So I had to cut a bit of that out, but here we go with the building stuff. So I wanted to build a building that felt somewhat substantial, but doesn't feel overbearing. And it's something that can be kind of repeated, manipulated a bit, and then moved about. And this is what I settled on, a stick frame thing. I had actually consulted AI. I go into AI and kind of typed in a general idea of the coaster and the layout and kind of what I wanted, and I needed a conceptualization in some kind of, image, and ChatGPT delivered. I got the inspiration to do these beam type structures with a little bit of a roof, and you can kind of stack and manipulate them, and I think they look really cool. I really like these. I think it's really fun. It definitely adds to things to be able to have stuff like this. And the secret to this, if you like the general look that I achieve with this, the secret to it is just to alter the items and the layouts a little bit. Just keep the essence, but at the same time alter the little details here and there, and that'll give you the illusion that you've built all these separately, but you really haven't, as you can see. And it's a lot of copying and pasting around. In my last video where we talked about the Viking coaster, I have made huge updates to that, and I hope to try to get a video update of the park out to you guys after I get a couple more rides worked on, because there's a lot of stuff I don't record that I do, and I think that it's something that you guys would enjoy, so I'm going to make sure I do an update video. And don't worry here if you can't see the details in what I'm showing you right now as clearly as you'd like. You'll see them plenty in a little while. Plenty. Trust me. I have this overwhelming feeling like I was trying to make a point just a few moments ago. I'm not exactly sure where I was with my thoughts there, but yeah, I'm just going to switch up here and say, oh, so it was the Viking coaster. I'm sorry, there we go. The Viking coaster. I did a lot of work to that. And if you guys were part of that video, thank you in the comments for going down there and participating. You guys did an amazing job. There was some feedback about the music. There was one piece of feedback that talked about not having so much sleepy music into the mix because you'll knock somebody, senseless with your video. I am going for the chill vibe here, but I think I'd like you to at least be aware during the video. So yeah, I have worked on the music, and there's also somebody that commented about people with sensory disorders and having trouble differentiating between voice in a song and voice talking. And I've gone ahead and tried to solve that. And I haven't added any lyrical songs. These songs all have lyrics, but these are the versions that don't have lyrics. It's at this point where I'm starting to really get into the coaster itself. I'm really starting to enjoy it. It's starting to match the terrain a bit. And then I do things like this where I stack a bunch of rocks on top of each other because why not? It hit me out of nowhere. I can make a rock wall, and it was just like, bang, there it is. And I really love it. I think it looks really cool. I worked a bit more with terrain paint, and that rock terrain paint, great stuff, can really help make rocks a little more believable, a little more standout. And for what I feel like is the billionth time it rained in the game, as we got ready to work on the coloration of the coaster, it looks like I kind of went with this gray and silvery track along with this black, supports and inner parts and this very vivid red cart. But yeah, then I just took one of these building chunks. In the end, what I could have done was laid the flooring piece down and just stuck with that. I thought I was going to save a bit more from this. I didn't. I'm just going to tell you now I didn't. But I got it all lined up, and I fussed and fussed and fussed with the rotation until I got it quite right. And then I sank everything below track level and just started to go wild. I was getting a little tired at this point, and playing was getting a little more fussy, I guess you could say. But I was so into this build, I actually did it all one sitting, which is really fun. It's right about here that I realized I wanted a final showroom. Disappointingly, you cannot see into it when you ride the ride, but you get tons of views of it as we build it here, because I'm going to build the entire show with you, and we'll just enjoy it between ourselves, because you definitely don't see the darn thing when you come in the ride on the POV. But that's okay. We're going to work on that over time. I'll try to get it positioned better. Again, here when you're putting your foundations down, try to stick it out by about 1 block. It gives you things to put on, like a ledge. It gives you a space outside the building a little bit, and it really helps a lot. And I struggled right here with pillars. I knew I wanted the wood beams. I don't know what I was thinking jumping around as much as I did. I really play with a lot of crazy ideas here. As you know, I left all this footage in so you can see this. And I knew what I wanted, because like I said at the beginning, I've had a fascination with these coasters since I was a kid. I really have. And I thought they were such a cool concept, you know, the ground huggers and stuff. And I think, you know, because one of my first coasters was those dragon coasters you get at an amusement park, like a carnival, and those have kind of a ground hug layout, which I've always preferred over the, you know, mind-boggling drops of some of the other rides. But that stuff all has its fun as well, and that's, I think, fairly represented here in this park. What I like here, if you know, kind of watch everything close enough here, the station build kind of fits with everything else, but it's such a different build from the other builds. But yeah, I go through this whole process with the show and stuff coming up, and then I build it on the roof, you know, so I can have like a bigger version. And by the time I build everything, then I check if you can scale an animatronic. You cannot, sadly. So I was gonna have like a big version of the same effect from the show scene at the end. Hopefully it feels right. It didn't trigger correctly anyway, I'll tell you that now, but it is a cool thing to have there, and it's something I can work towards. Again here, drag and drop, move the pieces around, reconfigure stuff. It comes off like it's a brand new build. They're really great. I've done it with a couple buildings in my park so far. You can see like the repeat versions of these buildings. And you could probably get a little flash there, but Pathing and I still aren't good friends yet. We're working on our relationship, but we're still not quite good friends. When I think about how much build is actually left here, I'm a little bit stunned by that, actually. I wasn't real far into my gameplay, or real far forward in gameplay, despite how long it is to this point. Like I said, this is all sped up by ×5, so you can imagine the real life version, how long it stretched out. I think the unedited footage was 4 hours long. And here we go with the show scene. I thought through this a lot. I really did. And I kind of settled on this. I like the idea of it. I think that it as a character is kind of fitting. This is a great case of knew what I wanted but didn't know how to go about it. So I'm gonna leave all this where you can see my thought process. Even though it's sped up, you can see what I was trying to get at with certain stuff, and it helps just to play with things, play with the particles, play with the movement of stuff to see how it feels. Plus you get to know it a bit, you get to know how to use it. Boy, if I had a dime for every time I tried to line this stuff up, I'd be rich. And here I got this crazy idea for a stone wall, which could serve as an accent wall, and it actually looks really good when it's finished. I have to admit, it looks nice. It does look a little repeatish, but I bet I could fix that if I really focused on it. I think it just completes the show. Really offsets everything in there. But wait, there's more. There's gonna be some decorative stuff here. I call it lazy decorations. You just kind of plop and go. And I'm gonna absolutely fight with a planter with flowers. And it's not happening. I'm gonna tell you right now, I never scale it successfully. Because the flowers totally wouldn't be burned from the wheels. But yeah, see, didn't scale it, moved on. That lasted longer than I wanted it to. But there we go. So I think at this point I switched my attention, over to the windows on this side. And I just kind of wanted a simple row of windows. And I'll tell you, I must have cycled through all the windows in the game, or close to it. And I settled on this one, which I think looks nice. In the end, I wanted a window box, but I'm too lazy to scale, move, plop, put, poke full. So I just go with these like upward facing bushes, which kind of come through the fencing. And that looks really good. I think that really sets the area off. And it gives you a way to kind of cover up these blank walls, these big slabs, and kind of give your build an overall look. And yeah, I did stare at the inside there for a while. I was forming an idea in my head. I got distracted by some bright shiny stuff here. And scaling up this flag here, it's going to be something, or this curtain, it's going to be something I can use to form kind of a show curtain. And then I want a platform aimed at the track so that this bull comes rushing forward with its wheels on fire towards the coaster. And it's the bigger version of what you see at the very end, because at the end you see kind of the behind the curtain, you see the other side of this thing where it parks. Plus, this helps cover up the smoke that comes through the roof. Fun thing though, you'll notice it's raining again in my world. Again. Rains a lot. That movement was to facilitate another movement, but honestly, it worked out so well. And pillars do a great job back here. They really do. They make everything look real nice. Lesson learned though, don't ever put these things directly next to a curtain because it is terrible to click. You can see here I have one heck of a load of trouble till I eventually get it there. Alright, so we kind of have this effect jump out of the coaster, which it's a cool effect, don't get me wrong, it's just poorly executed in my opinion. But remember, a park like this wouldn't have the budget to kind of go all out. This would be a really crazy investment of their time, effort, and money. Speaking of that, I think once we get the mine train built on this side and maybe one or two other accommodations, this side will be finished. The center will be mostly finished, and we'll head over towards the pier to wrap things up in this park. Because I really would like to move on to another park. I'd like to work on Eldermore, because the community's doing a contest. I'd like to also maybe throw in on it. So maybe you'll see a change up soon. I promised though, I made a promise that when I moved over to Planet Coaster 2, I would start to actually complete parks for you guys. Yeah, it's a cool little hack there with the floor. If you can't get the floor to sync correctly, just place the first block in the grid with the others, and then go ahead and just detach it from the structure. And then you can shift it up and down with the fine precision arrows. And I made a massacre out of these pathways. I mean, I got it fixed in the end here, of course. But I made a massacre, and I hated that bamboo slabs. It looked terrible. I'm not 100% sold on what I landed on either. It's not awesome. It's not awesome. A little bit more ground paint, and then we're gonna start to apply some sides here to this ramp. Just, you know, to take out the planet coasteriness, as we've talked about in other videos. And this will enable us to kind of move towards a completion point with this. Now, I didn't install too much lighting. I can do lighting in a different video. Maybe we'll do because the 90s had a nighttime vibe to the parks. So maybe we'll kind of come back and do a nice nighttime round of things, tidy up dark areas and dark corners. You know, and watching this video back as I do the voiceover, I'm not 100% sold that I put the iron girders along the roof line there over the queue line on the horizontals, like the ones, the stickouts. I mean, maybe you guys can help keep track. Go in the comments and mention if I did or I didn't. But I'm fairly sure I didn't, which is embarrassing because I forget something in like every build. There's a build not far from here. It's a gift shop. It's the first build I did on, I think, in this Planet Coaster 2, or like the second build. It was right after the plaza and the ticket booth. The third build, my bad, third build. So in just the third build, you know, I think I left some molding off, and it's not there to this day. Continue to persist with this stuff and make it realistic stuff. I mean, don't just throw stuff on the wall because you can, but a few gears here and there could add some ambiance, and maybe taking the objects here and just kind of putting them out. It helps break the separation up between one structure and another, the ground in this and all that. And I thought a lot about the windows along here. I wanted windows, but I wasn't sure. I always forget I can scale until I do, and I slow it down right here so you can see this is the last bits of the build and how good it's coming together. There's a little bit more I could do on the left here with the garden area, but I think overall this thing just looks fantastic. And you can see that bull on top charging every now and then. And it has a nice shaded underside here when you can get out of the rain and the wind and the sun. And it's a fun overall build. If you've liked this, hey, make sure you subscribe, hit the like, you know, drop it in the comments and say hello. But I think that you guys, you know, could enjoy whatever is going to pop up on the screen, because I let YouTube decide. But we'll have whatever is going to pop up on the screen pop up. Planco and chill. Thanks for watching. Enjoy this fantastic POV and then some cinematics afterwards. Don't you just love